Hi, everybody. Happy New Year. So excited that we're back. Were you surprised? Because I think I said goodbye. We thought we were wrapping up these Thursday interviews, but SubConnect decided to keep them going. Thank you. SubConnect, thrilled to be doing this on your platform. Such a great media. Yeah, gosh, you've been around for a while, haven't you? SubConnect's really been keeping us informed for a long time. So grateful for them and their websites and newsletters and the content that they put out. And I'm stoked that they're letting me on Thursdays continue to interview interesting people in the world of stand-up paddling. So our first of the year is someone I met actually pretty far back. Maybe he'll remember if it was a Battle of the Paddle or a Carolina Cup. A true international stand-up paddler, but I promised that I would focus it more on the wonderful tour that he is the manager of called the EuroTour. So Belar Diaz from Spain, living in the Canary Islands. I'm supposed to throw out something for you to guess, so I'm going to say he had a really big, life-changing, maybe more than one, event happen in 2020. So I'll have you guess. Some of you may know him and know what that is. He may even have different answers, but I saw that he's here. There's EuroTour Sup. Let's have him join us. Really excited. You guys know I love travel, and that's been a really hard part of COVID. I hope you guys out there are staying healthy and well. Still a challenging time in our world, but it's nice to have these breaks and really looking forward to sometime later in this year, the world getting back to normal. Hey, you back there?
Hey,
I think I see
yeah, how
you.
are you? Let
Come
me
on
bring this
up.
thing closer. There you go.
There you go. There you go. There's Belar. You're looking you have lots of hair. I bet people are jealous, all these bald people. You got facial hair and hair on your head.
That's it. I still have my hair.
Good stuff. Well, I will
Yeah.
try to hold still. Yeah, it's a good thing. Belar, really excited to talk to you about the Euro Tour, and I promised I wouldn't do too much, but you have to tell us a little bit about yourself. You're definitely an international guy. I think I met you in the US at an early big race that I went to, maybe 2010 or 11. You went to school in the United States, I believe, because your English is perfect. Is that where it came
Yeah,
from?
yeah. Actually, I went to a university in St. Louis, in Missouri. I got my undergrad there, and then I did my grad studies in Cincinnati, in Ohio. So yeah, altogether it was like over 10 years in the States, and then, yeah, I think it was 2011 Battle of the Paddle. You're right. That was my first international in the US. I think I started like 2010, something like that,
Yeah.
competing. So yeah,
So
it's
you
a
were
while
an
back.
early international racer, and again, we're not going to focus on you, but I mean, I just remember seeing you and iconic, and I thought it was so fantastic that we had um, someone coming from Spain and people international. I mean, that was a wonderful part about Battle of the Paddle early on was to start to see that mix, and as we know, like such a great community. Was
Yeah, I
it?
mean, back then, I think 2011 was Eric Terrien, one of the few guys that have been going since 2009. And yeah, I can't even remember who we were with in 2011, but I think mostly like Eric, Tito wasn't even around yet. Yeah, it was some of the French guys started to go, and but yeah, those were the early days for sure.
Oh, so those were the first Europeans, the French. I didn't realize that. That's very cool. Where did you
Yeah,
first see or try stand-up paddling? Did it come from your surfing side or?
yeah. Actually, I used to live in San Diego in 2006, and that's where I saw it first. But I saw it and I said, "Ah, this makes no sense. It looks too big, too bulky, too much gear. It looks like a big longboard." And then 2009, I had my first board, and I was mostly into the waves. And then 2010, early 2010, I think I got my first race board. It was a hobby race board actually, through the guys at Hobby that connected with the distributor in Spain, Xavi Masteba. That was one of the first guy in Spain that started this whole thing. And yeah, from there it kind of like caught on. And you remember the early days, like we were doing races it seems every weekend. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, the Euro Tour is really iconic. It's been around. Is it the longest running tour, perhaps?
No,
Not.
Definitely not the longest, but we started in 2015. It was the first year was pretty loose. Chris Parker from Sunracer was involved at the time, and actually, believe it or not, it was the French guys that got me to start this thing because it was the first few years were T2, Greg Closier, a couple of French guys were starting in a house I rented for BOP when we did it at Salt Creek. That was the big year we did it at Salt Creek the last year,
Yeah.
right? And we were sitting around at dinner, classical European house. We even had Tahitian in the house, I think. And they started talking, like, hey, you should organize to put something together because Eric had tried a similar thing called EuroSuper a couple of years before that. But it was very loose. It was more on the rating side. And they said, oh, you should try to do something together. I said, no. You know what? I'm a racer. I work in the industry a little bit, but this sounds like a hassle. Organizing races or doing all this stuff sounds like a lot of work for not much return.
And it is
But
a lot of work.
yeah, it's definitely a lot of work, but I would have never guessed that we were going into the seventh year now. So it's definitely evolved a bit, and the sport has changed a lot, as you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm looking at this year's, it's so exciting. The schedule came out and it's so great to have things to look forward to. So kind of starting in May, I mean, that's your typical, you kind of are that, summer season, end of spring
Yeah,
into beginning of fall.
right. Traditionally, we've been going mostly like May to July. That was kind of our area being like June, the biggest month. We have a small race in France, in the south of France, in early April this year, and then that's part of our regional series. We have two kinds of races, regionals and Grand Slams, and we can touch into that. And then we'll be going from May until like July, and then we'll have a few things in September as well. So
Yeah.
busy year.
Yes. So I see some, iconic ones that have been around for a while. You also have some new races. There's some I'm super excited about that you've gotten tied into that maybe weren't the typical, just, general, not general, but, heart of Europe races. But before we do that, let's talk about you. You really are open for any kind of racer, but you definitely attract lots of pros but there's open and there's beginners. You just
Yeah,
mentioned there's both regional and Grand Slam. Talk about those
right.
things.
Yeah, like all the events are open to everybody. I mean, we don't have any. We get these emails like every year, and it's typically from competitors that have never been around, and the classical email that how do I qualify for the EuroTour and I'm able to race on it? And I said, you get a plane ticket, you show up and you race. That's how you qualify. We were lucky that from the very beginning, like the first year, I believe it was Connor and Sonny that won it, the EuroTour. So we were lucky that we've always had the best racers. Europe was always such an attractive thing. There was an informal European tour in the summer that had been going on for years, and this is kind of like why the idea started going a little bit, and then with that. It was very attractive for the international guys. So we always got the pros that they were always dying to come to Europe in the summertime. And so that was the easy part. And then we didn't want to end up with like 15 or 20 people that just kind of having like a race with only the best guys and the rest of the people were kind of intimidated. So we always said, look, it's open to everybody. We didn't really focus too much on the rules. We tried that before in other avenues, and it was, people always there to jump to give an opinion on those things. So we said, look, we're going to make it really easy. Everybody uses at the time, there was the 12, 6, 14 dilemma for some, I should say. And we made it really simple. I said, look, everybody uses up to 14 foot, and then you use what you want. But like the top guys are going to be on 14 footers, so you probably should try to go into one. And then like basically no classification or nothing like that. You just show up, and then at the end of the season, your best results count, and then there's rating. That was basically
Yeah,
it.
which is fantastic. And we're still growing our sport. We have, strangely, through this COVID thing, we have a lot of new recreational paddleboarders around the world because many people found the outside and looking for activity to do. So hopefully some of those will transfer on and really get it, hooked on it and find racing. But I think it's great too, because we haven't really defined what a pro is. It's very, you just decide to call yourself that. I'm not putting them down in any way, but at some point in the sport, there will be qualifications that say whether you're a pro or not, and may or may not be divided races. And I know there are some series that do types of qualifications, but I think it's wonderful that it's open. I've found that that's one of the things I love about stand-up paddling as an older paddler, age group paddler, is that you go to a big event and have all kinds of people there and get to meet new people and get to see old friends, you know, in the community. So I applaud you for continuing to do that. I think it's just fantastic. I do, before we get into like specific ones, want to mention to people listening, you need to go to the website. It's a little different this year. It's .net.com, right? So it's EuroTourSup.net. And if you have any questions about specific races, let us know in the text and you know, because we won't be able to talk about all of them, but let us know if there's any that you have questions about or want to talk about. But talk about how you have a lot of interest in probably too many races. I assume that's why you have regional and the Grand Slam.
Yeah, how does that work? Actually, this concept has been around. This is the third year, I believe, that we have that distinction. And what was happening is that throughout the years, of course, like more people wanted to kind of join on the tour, you know, and we kind of have limited weekends. We were typically going like 12 weeks, something like that, back to back. It was always like 1 week after the other one. That was kind of the trick. And of course, the transfer, and we'll talk about that. That was the key thing that kind of held it all together. But then we always had small races that say, oh, you know what, I want to have a race, but I don't have the money to go and put, to have a big prize money or something like that. I want to have a first event to see how it goes. And then also the idea was that a lot of people didn't have the structure to bring the whole thing, the whole team that we go over there with logistics, with the media and stuff like that. And then it really started this concept of say, why don't we do races that we endorse? So they want to be part of the tour, but we cannot have the smallest race in June when that same weekend we will have, for example, Bilbao, like our biggest race for a few years now, will have the most participation. You know, one weekend that these guys have a lot of prize money and the most points to get, and then somebody else wants to run the same weekend on the weekend after, and it's kind of impossible. So we say, look, why don't we try to do this endorsement, which basically is races that we don't actually take our team to. They're part of the tour, and then we give them a rating within the tour, so they count the points count towards the final rankings, and then at the same people know that we guarantee things like prize money, certain standards on the race that people are used to. So there's no gray area, if you will, in those things where they say, oh, we're going to have 2,000 or 3,000 prize money. No, actually, at the end, it's 500. When we announce something, what we announce is what gets paid. So that was really important for us to be in. There was a little bit of, some playfulness, I guess I could say, in that area. And that was for us very important. No matter how big or small, if we said it was 1, we give 1. If we said it was 20, it was 20. And I think people throughout the years have entrusted us to that, and that was a little bit of something that made it for us as well.
Well, we appreciate that, and I know that's very challenging to get people to get, the race directors, and especially when you're trying to coordinate a lot of different ones, to commit to that kind of stuff early. Because I'm looking at your schedule, and you already have that up. That information is available for these May through September races, if they have money on them or not, and what category they fit in and everything. So that's all fantastic stuff. So
one of the things, sorry, Kristen, one of the things on that is that this is actually, most of the people know by now, especially the athletes that have been coming for years, but getting the schedule out is actually the most amount of work. A lot of people think, oh, you put the schedule out and then you actually have to do the events. Of course, the events are tough, but actually lining up everything, it's months and months of work. Like actually trying to get everybody, okay, you go that weekend, and then you try to appeal to everybody, so you cannot let the little guys last or the top guys, be favoritive to certain people. So you kind of make it all work is the most amount of work. And also the fact that when we announce something is because we've guaranteed it. Like if somebody says, again, there's this prize money or the event is on this day at that location, they're financially committed to that. The events already are. And that's not easy. It's not like saying, okay, we're going to do this. I trust you. I'll see you in 6 months. No, it's like, okay, here's the money. We're gonna.
And that's great that you have, built that trust over time. This is a very challenging year, but I'm so grateful that you have gone ahead and set a schedule, even though we still have some unknowns. So if something is changed because of COVID, that's not your fault. So I'm glad you went ahead and did stuff. And I know different countries, well, I'm in the US where we have huge spikes right now. So
Right. Yeah.
different rules in different countries, and that has to be a huge challenge too.
Yeah, but along that, like last year, we're actually really happy that we were able to run 4 events. Actually, it was one Grand Slam and 3 small regional events. The most recent one being in Egypt, out of all places.
Yeah, cool.
And this with that for us was super good. Like really nothing, almost nothing run last year, all the way some events until March run, and then after that, nothing really much happened. So the fact that we were able to do something, and then again when we prepare for this year, we still have events that at this time we're still working on. It's been one of the years where we've had the most requests, which is surprising.
Interesting. Yeah.
As like right now, everything is not solved, and without getting into this whole pandemic thing that we're all kind of sick about talking in every country with their own particular things, it's true. Like everything is not solved. Many countries still locked at this time, and some places actually have put in new measurements on it. But the people, especially the organizers, are so keen into organizing something and putting something on the table that I'm pretty optimistic myself. But but at the same time, I tell you, like if we are having lots of trouble by next summer, it's the year is basically shut, and I don't think anybody can afford another year like last one.
Yeah, yeah. I heard good news on the radio this morning that, anyway, like that things should open up late spring. So that should be perfect timing. And we'll see. You hear many different things. But yeah, again, great that you're getting things out. And I'm super optimistic too. I think that people, I've done quite a bit of this interesting virtual racing of all different types, which was great. And I was lucky. In our area, we are able to get on the water. That is definitely something that, was almost encouraged, but it was, and a lot of people found the water. So we have new people in our practice training group who weren't paddlers before and can't wait for a race. So there's a lot of people looking forward to racing. So I think you're going to have a very successful year with the EuroTour. I want to start with, I didn't realize it was your largest, but it is the iconic picture that we used in promoting our chat today. I mean, Bilbao just looks amazing. And to go by that, building that's, is it a Frank Gehry?
The Guggenheim is always been the picture. That picture is actually by Georgia Scofield, our favorite photographer and video. And she always makes everything looks good. But actually the place is really iconic. I mean, the main sponsor of that event is Iberdrola, which is a power company. And then the race starts next to the tower of Iberdrola, which is one of the most iconic buildings in Bilbao as well, and next to the big Guggenheim Museum. And then you go all along the river inside the city, and back when we were able to have tons of people. It's kind of like a circus sort of thing, like we have all these spectators along the way. And of course, like stand-up paddle, not everybody's there to watch the guys race, but there's lots of people there. So the city really has a really cool vibe, and the Basque Country is a really special place for us. From the very beginning of the tour, they were always behind us. The guys of Bilbao, the team of B Waters, which is the ones that organize the race along with the sponsors, they're good friends, and they've been around since the beginning. And it's truly a special place because even though you're in the middle of the city, that water is like boiling, and every racer that ever comes and says, "Oh, I brought my biggest flat water board, and by the end of the race, I wish I was on an ocean board because it's those small walls, everything rebounds, and it's like it's anything but flat."
Yes, I did that. I found that out in Chicago. There's this, wall, and everything was bouncing off the wall. It was crazy. We're on a lake. Thinking it's going to be a flat water because it wasn't even super windy, and it was the craziest chop I've ever been in. Super unorganized, and
I can't imagine. Yeah, that's the vibe, and all those city races, they have a special thing where you bring in that atmosphere to a lot of people that not necessarily surfers or surf culture. Even though Bilbao is literally the river ends in the ocean, so you're not that far. Certainly in the Basque Country, the biggest in Spain. I mean, the best surfers in Spain by far are Basque, and they have the most tradition within the surfing culture. And when we started stand-up paddling in Spain, there was a lot of events in the Basque country. But yeah, it's truly a special place, and having like 300 plus people in the water at the same time is quite unique over there. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
So that one is the beginning of June. So you have a few in May on the Grand Slam list, and then that's the fourth Grand Slam, it looks like.
Yeah,
One of the biggies.
Yeah. So
yeah.
we start in Switzerland. I can do a small recap if you want to.
Yeah, please do.
Talk about everything, but so we start in. We have this small event in France, as I mentioned, on the 4th of April in the south of France. From there, we go to Switzerland, actually to the German part of Switzerland, and this will be a really cool race called the Ice Race. And even though it's May, it's not going to be that warm still, and there's plenty of snow in the mountains. And Switzerland is such an iconic place that it always looks really neat. Yeah, so that should be really exciting. The guys have been running the event for a while, and they have experience, so we're really looking forward to that. From there, we go to Belgium in Namur, and this is kind of a little bit similar to Bilbao. It's in the city center. Namur is a small village, and this has always been a small race. It's not a huge race, but it's got quite a bit of tradition, and they've been running with us since the beginning as well. And the guy, Bertrand, the guy that organizes the race, he loves to party. He actually owns a bar / club on the water, and if we're not careful, we need to slow him down so the race, everything happens according to plan. But the night party in Namur is always the best. And then from Namur, sorry.
I was just going to say, destination races, it's all about that. It's about people, it's about the experience and the culture, and the food and drink.
Yeah. No, and honestly, that's the thing. I mean, like racing, a lot of it, when people email us, ask, and how do I do this? And always the first time, like you travel to a few different countries, so people sometimes they don't realize that everything's so close together that you could just drive a couple hours. And like, for example, for you to go to San Francisco is the same distance as crosses 3 countries in Spain, you know. So it's a lot of people don't realize how close we are, you know. Mm-hmm. So that's the neat thing, and actually we recommend most people to fly into whatever destination they choose to, and then rent a car or van, or some people rent a motorhome. That's another great way to do it. And then just travel around. You don't even have to fly in between races. They don't have to carry the equipment. This is something probably we should have mentioned.
Oh yeah.
The logistics of the tour is really what started. I mean, so we try to unify we take a small parenthesis, but we try to unify the races and try to put some ratings and stuff like that. But the biggest hurdle in Europe was actually traveling with your raceboard. As you know, flying around with a 14-foot raceboard, we have like 2 small airlines, like things like Ryanair, EasyJet, people like that will take the raceboard, but most others will not, you know. So it was really difficult. So we started from the beginning doing logistics. So carrying everybody's raceboard to the events. So basically, whatever you fly into the first event or whatever you fly into the last one, you basically fly in, you bring your raceboard, you give it to us, and we transfer it to every event that you wanted to go. If you want to leave it, you want to do one event, then take 2 weeks off, then come back, the raceboard stays with the trailers and the vans, and then you can come pick it up at the end. Some people quite a few people, they put the raceboard at the beginning, or the sponsors send us the boards directly, and then they travel with us the whole tour.
That is just fantastic. Yeah, that does make a huge difference. Yeah.
Right.
I'll have to ask you, because we're having conversations about point systems, about how you do points. Is it high numbers or low numbers?
Yeah, that's always a tricky one. To be honest, I'm not the points guy. When Chris was involved, Parker, you know how crazy he is about points and things like that. But I kind of mimic the system that he did. And basically, we do a simple system, kind of copying a bit of the surfing with stars. So we just say, 6 stars, 4 stars, and if it's a 6 star, it's 60%. If it's 4 stars, 40%, things like that. So we just try to unify everything, whether a race has people, whether a race has money, whether a race has, to try to even out the whole thing. We have so many events that the good thing is that most people can have throwaway events. So imagine like if we have 14 events and you count your best 4 or 5 results, maybe you've done 8 or you've done 10 or maybe you just done 4. You know, so then your rating counts not on every race per se. Yeah.
But best of. Cool. That is
Yeah.
fantastic. Yeah, that is. I'm glad you came back to the transportation and logistics, and that they're
Right.
coordinated, and the point system are so key to a great experience. And it is a super. We have listeners all over the world, but there's a lot in North America who, if they haven't traveled a lot, have no idea that the state of California is like going all over Europe, just
Right.
staying in the state.
Yeah. 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 I was lucky to travel all 50 states when I lived over there over the years, and I tell you,
Wow.
a big. We would never even cover that distance in the EuroTour, no matter how many times we travel.
No matter how much
Yeah,
crisscrossing and all of that.
we
Yeah.
do quite a few miles, but not quite that many.
So after Belgium, you go to France.
Yeah, Belgium we go to France, and this is a really race that has been around for a few years now, but it's quickly become one of the favorites because it's a downwind race. And as you know, downwind racing, it's the favorite, everybody's favorite, or most people. And it's my favorite, particularly always downwind racing. It's pretty much the only training I do, you can call it training. But this is in the north of France, near Nantes, and it's called Ben d'Eglise. It's a small little village, like a summer village kind of thing. But the really cool thing about this venue is that the logistics there are insane. They're the biggest logistics we have in the whole tour, which is we bring all the gear, of course. Then they have actually buses and trucks where we bring everything up to the port nearby. Then all the competitors, they jump on Zodiacs. Like we have like Rip Zodiac. They're like 7.5, I think, what is that? Like 28 footers, 30 footers, something like that, less than that. Everybody jumps on Zodiacs. The Zodiacs go out to sea with all the competitors with the paddle in hand, and you already have all your gear on. Meanwhile, we have 2 huge ships, cargo ships that have all the boards in it. The competitor has a tag. The boards are on the ship with the same number tag, and then when all the Zodiacs line up around the big ships in the middle of the ocean, and of course you have the perfect line because we basically just take the line straight back to the coast, and then it's about 25 kilometers, which is like 17 miles, something like that. And then basically they call the number, say number 1, and then they throw the board in the ocean, and then the number 1 competitor goes in the ocean. And sometimes it's like 55 that water, especially around May. So it's not so nice. You should ask Annie Raykart that the first time she came and jumped on the water. I saw her on the board. She was just like freezing
Shivering. Oh,
poor thing. And I said, "You okay?" She's like, "Yeah, okay. When do we start?"
yeah.
Soon. So anyway, they throw the competitors in the water, and then it's just a downwind race. And for the
That's
most part,
cool.
but the logistics are really cool. Like it's really, if you go back and watch one of the videos from this year or from last year, it's really because we don't really have these type of setups. I mean, most people would probably think Molokai, which I was lucky enough to do a few times myself. And and then you have your own kind of boat, and you start from an island. But this is even a bit more dramatic, when you start in the middle of the ocean. They kind of just throw you there. So it's pretty neat, yeah. And that's a big event as well. We've always had some of the biggest names on that event. From there we go to Bilbao, which we talked a little bit about Bilbao. From Bilbao we'll go back to Austria. This is a brand new race in a lake, and the cool thing about Austria is this is really close to the next venue, which is in Hungary, which is the ICF World Championships. The ICF actually reached back to us early this year, I should say, late last year, and they've been wanting to work for us for a while, and then they have a really cool project with some local organizers in Hungary, and as you know, Hungary from Krista and Rami and these guys, Hungary is huge in rowing, paddling, canoeing. I mean, for these guys is like soccer, which for us is everything in Spain. I'm not a big fan of soccer myself, but in my country there's soccer and there's all the other sports. So anyway, Hungary, it's a really cool venue with the ICF that they run a world championship, and they wanted to work with us. So actually, the guys in Austria wanted to have an event, a venue that was really close, and is only a couple hours from the venue in Hungary. So that would be a really cool location in a nice lake in Austria, and this is on the 12th, 13th of June. And then from there, we go to Hungary and we have the ICF. The ICF will be 3 days of racing, and then this will be full on, and they expect quite a bit of, if you follow their last championships in China, they had quite a bit of a turnout. So
I was lucky enough to be there, and I hope to be in Hungary also. I just think it's fantastic. And it's open, just like your other races, to all.
Yeah.
But it will definitely attract some of the top.
Exactly. And this is the thing that for us was really important. You know, we are an independent company, and without going to debates of ISA, ICF, those things, we always tell people when they ask us, we work with everybody. We work with many events that are affiliated with the ISA, and we work with many events that are affiliated with the ICF. When the ICF, of course, came in directly with the World Championships, a lot of people was like, oh, well, how does that work? They're the World Championships, and how does that fit? And I say, look, they're part of the tour. We're doing the logistics for them. We're working with our media team with them. And then they're going to be part of our ratings. Of course, they're a World Championship venue that they're running their own thing, and they have a completely different budget. And if you were in China, I don't have to explain to you what it is. So you know what venue they're going to run. So for us, it's not our show. We're just happy to bring the racers that we have and to help with the logistics, and then basically bring it all together. You know, why try to have a separate venue 3 hours away from this one and try to steal 5 races on the same weekend? I think it's more interesting to work together and have a venue that works for everybody.
And that's so cool to me to go from Austria one weekend and then into Hungary, but only a couple-hour drive. And
right, exactly. And trust me, these guys have a lot of experience in organizing races, so we're expecting a big show. So that's the highlight for a lot of the internationals that are planning on being there. And from there, we actually go to Prague, which is the Czech Republic. We've had a race there 2 years ago, and it's a fantastic venue. And if you've never been to Prague, or for those of you that are thinking, if you want a city to go and to have a race and tell your wife or your spouse or your girlfriend an excuse, is you can literally be having a vacation, and then you say, I'm going to take a 2-hour break to go race, and then the rest of the time I'm going to enjoy a beautiful city. And Prague is fantastic. It's
and that's exactly. I'm hoping to do that. My husband is very interested in because the ICF in Hungary is near Budapest. We haven't been there or to Prague, so hoping to make it a racing and vacation.
Right. No, honestly, Prague is great. I even brought my own family there 2 years ago, and they loved it. They've never been, and it's a really cool, mellow vibe. And of course, everybody's thinking big cities right now with everything that's going on. I'm sure we'll have, by then something will be worked out, and we'll have a good venue. So,
vaccinations and hopefully, things will be under control and everything.
Right. I mean, we don't kid ourselves. We're not expecting this next year to be, it's like, oh, what was that? COVID? I don't remember that. I'm sure we will have something going on, but I think, even for us, I tell you, we had a venue in France. We have the Vendée event this year, and we're in the middle of this whole thing, and Europe literally just barely opened up, and we were able to have a great event. It's so amazing to see when you're having an outdoor event, how much you can detach yourself from, the media, like the news that we're all getting every day. You're out in the water, and when you're on the water, there's no news, there's no paranoia, there's no bad vibes, and I think that's a lot of people. They need to focus on that. It's that I think can take your mind off of things. And I don't know how much is happening in the States, but here there's one thing that happened this year. It's like motorhomes. Everybody's going on a van, on a motorhome. Yep. They had a car, station wagon. They fixed it up to travel with it. So trust me, we actually travel as a family with a motorhome. Even though we have hotels everywhere we go, we travel as a motorhome with a little one. And it's the best way to travel. So this is something that for those people thinking, I should make these races, but I don't know how I'm going to do it. You rent yourself one of them, and you are your own independent country every night. Yeah.
So is that pretty easy to find? Although right now a lot of things are sold out, at least in the U.S. But can you rent motorhome homes or a van to drive around?
Yeah, depending on the season and stuff, of course, and depending on what you're looking for, there's cheaper things, most expensive things. But if you're a small family or a group of friends, something like that, it's quite achievable. You know, it was never difficult to or expensive, I should say, to travel around Europe if you know, depending on what you're looking for. But the motorhome, there's many countries that are doing it. It's just you need to plan ahead for sure. And but then you can put a lot of things into it. You know, you need to take out the rental car, the hotel expense. There's a lot of things that you just have right there. So it's
Yeah.
and because everything is close by, it allows you to see so much more, you know, than just getting to a place. You leave your hotel and then you can see that city. But with the motorhome, you just go somewhere. You like it there. You spend 1 day, 2 days, because there's also the whole week. Keep in mind the events are on the weekend, but then you have most people, they take time off during the week and then
Yeah.
they go visit places. So this is why I personally recommend the motorhome as the best way to travel, and definitely the most COVID-free alternative right now.
And maybe, I mean, I talked to you ages ago, but I still hope to. Some people aren't very independent like you and I, and maybe would rather travel with a group. So at some point, I would love to bring people over, you know, meet them at the airport and help them, you know, schedule their week in between. And with your transportation and logistics, that's already, you know, halfway taken care of. But to bring more people from farther away to the EuroTour, I think that seems to be really popular right now. Like having a guide or
Look,
someone help them out.
we've done it for especially a lot of, we have young competitors where the parents contact us and say, look, my kid's 16 and he wants to go 6 weeks on tour. How do I do it? And so we've done it before. We put small groups together. We find things for them. We're not a travel agency, but for sure it's a small enough world that we all know each other around here. If I don't know the kid, I might know the parents, something like that. And it's easy to put together.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you guys caught it, but Belar did mention what I was thinking of as the big thing that happened this year. Um, he and another stand-up paddler that many of you may know have a baby.
Yeah.
Tell us just a little bit. I know we're talking Euro Tour, but you gotta tell us about last year because you had.
I mean, yeah, it's funny because I've talked with a couple of you know what happened this year. You know, a lot of divorces or a lot of babies. It's both things happen. We made the baby in advance, so our baby was not a COVID baby, it was a pre-COVID baby. But,
that's right,
yeah,
December, right? Christmas baby.
Right. Ours was born in December, and we actually went to Tahiti for one event we had the year before, and we made it a small vacation. So we made our baby in Tahiti. So of course we gave it a Tahitian name, and which my wife wanted to give it a Tahitian name. Her name is Baimiti, which means water of the ocean. Which is it's a cool name, and I'm happy that it's a name that my family and her family can pronounce. You know how Tahitian names, kind of like Hawaiian names, you can get caught up in those kind of things. But yeah, no, she's great. So for us, the pandemic has been that much better because we've had the baby with us going through this whole thing. So I mean,
lots of family time.
Lots of family time. Yeah. So I mean, I think she was. Our Baimiti was stoked out of this whole thing. It's like, okay, these people, they never leave the house, you know, they just stay with me. And so I guess this is how it is.
Yeah, it's all good. So from Czech Republic, from Prague, you go south.
Yeah, from Prague, we go to another very exciting location, and probably it's in Crete, in Greece. And this is also a downwind race. So cool. Typically the wind turns up and works with us. And it's in Agios Nikolaos, a race we've had, is this the 5th year we go there? And it's a fantastic place. I mean, Greece, for those of you who've been in Greece, you know, and if you haven't, Crete is like everything you can imagine from Greece and then some. It's beautiful, like the Greek people could not be any more welcoming. They love to eat, they love to party, they love to, like, they're super friendly. Like the Greeks are. Even when you think they're fighting, they're just talking. They're just loud. It's kind of like people. Like they really get into it, and it's a fantastic venue. We had another venue in Corfu that, even though this year is not on, we still have a chance that we might make it happen. But the one in Greece is fantastic. Obviously, most people fly. We actually drive via ferry with all the gear and stuff. But we wouldn't recommend people to doing that because, I mean, that is a long journey. You basically have to go down to Italy or you can drive through like all like the ancient Yugoslavia, like Serbia, Bosnia, all those places. We did 1 year, but it's quite a journey. So the best thing is from anywhere in Europe, especially we will be in Prague. It's easy to jump on a plane and fly into Crete, and that's a fantastic location. I mean, it's when people go to Greece, they always go there for a week at least, if not 10 days. And then Greece in July, what's not to like? The only bad thing could be that it could be a little hot. It would be a bit warm, but then the heat also brings the trade winds, so that should be quite windy, and that would be a really exciting location. Yeah, and definitely one that out of all the competitors that have done the tour, they tell me that Greece is one of the favorite parts. So I mean, you could ask the Aussies, the Hawaiians, that they never miss that part. They always just like, okay, when is Greece? A lot of the wives always ask me, when is Greece? Oh, then okay, so we make it.
I want to go on that one. Yeah,
exactly. So we make it to Greece. So I know a few that they love that. And then from Greece, we have another regional event in Finland the following week. It's a small day again, but a venue that's been with us from the beginning almost. And it's in a beautiful lake. We've had quite a few downwinds. It's about 2 or 3 hours north of Helsinki, and it's the middle of the summer, so it's fantastic. You almost have no darkness, so it's always light, and it's, I mean, what can I tell you? It's like the most beautiful sunsets at midnight you can ever imagine. You know, they love the saunas, and so they like to go on the sauna, they jump on the lake, which is not warm, but it's definitely warmer than in the winter. And it's a really nice location. From there, we go back to Germany. This is Nordhausen. This is actually Susie's, my wife's town. And
that's
actually,
fun.
Yeah, it's a cool thing because we went this summer to visit the family, and then the local minister of sports is a high school colleague of hers. And he said, well, you guys are doing all this. Why are you not telling me about it? We need to do a race. And they've never done any type of venue. It's a small lake with like crystal clear water. It's like maybe 3 kilometers. And we're going to do sort of like a race around the lake. But it's in the middle of Germany. The guys are super excited, and I think it's going to be a great venue for everybody. The fact that they have not done SUP events doesn't bother us, for the fact that they've done triathlon, so they know how to do an event. It's just they've never done a stand-up paddle race, but with the proper support,
That's great.
Yeah, and they're super excited. Even the mayor is a small town, and the guy is like, he wanted to go for like the biggest event on tour, and we told him, like, look, it's your first year, take it easy. We have a good race.
Baby steps.
Yeah, I mean, because it's classic. A lot of people, they come on tour and say, you know, I want to have the biggest race on tour. And we always say the same. You want to have one big race, or you want to have 10? You know, so it's like, have a race, build up from there. We put a little money next year, you can put more money. But if they go and put everything they've got, and then even if 200 people showed up and they're expecting 2,000, you know, this is the reality checks a lot of times we have to do with stand-up. We're not soccer. You know, we're not going to have thousands of people coming into town, you know, storming the races. So it's a lot of times you have to be realistic and be a little humble and not outsell yourself, because you know you're never going to get those guys back. You might get them for 1 year, but then they'll never come back. So in this case, it's funny because the mayor, you know, you have a politician trying to tell you that he wants to put more money, and you're like, oh shit, okay, just.
It's hard to say no to that. Yeah.
Right, it's hard to say no, but at the same time, you know that you're going to disappoint them if you go too much in without the guys.
Which we've seen at the short life of stand-up paddle racing. We've seen a lot of that. I mean, people were so excited, but they'd get way too far in over their heads monetarily, with time, with energy, and they couldn't sustain it. So such great advice to anybody who wants to put on a race or keep anything going. And we love to see them continue to go. We're very sad about races. Southern California has lost a few series and big races.
Remember Puerto Rico? I mean, what a great venue over there. I mean, it's and those type of races. Sometimes a lot of people get caught up in the fact that I want to put the most money, I want to be the biggest, And a lot of times, even though it sounds not necessarily bad, but like you tell them, like, look, money is not the only thing, because you can have the most money, but then if 10 guys show up, your race is a failure. Even if they're the best 10 guys in the world, but if nobody else shows up, your local news, they're going to go and film and say, okay, you brought me here for 10 people. I mean, what is this? It's if you remember the hundreds and hundreds of people in the water in Dana Point. The first time I went to BOP in 2011, I couldn't believe it. I said, stand up, it's huge. I mean, there's like thousands of people on the beach here. And to us, we don't have quite those numbers, but you always try to be realistic and tell people what you have. It's we love to have big things. A couple of years ago, Eurosport, which is like a big channel in Europe for sports, they wanted to partner with us and do some things. And the guys, I had a few meetings with them, and they were too, how do I say it? Like, they thought we were like soccer. And I remember I told the guy at one point, I said, look, I mean, I don't want to talk myself down, but like, you are understanding what we have here.
Right. We're not there yet.
Yeah. Like, if we have 300 people, for us it's huge. And we're like stoked to have 300 people, but we're not going to have like 10,000 people watching those 300. And it's a lot of times you have to be real. I think on the long run, it pays off to be realistic. And sometimes you lose a little bit, but I think it pays off on the long run. Yeah.
So agree. So almost there.
Yeah, almost there. So from Germany, we take a few weeks, I should say, almost the month of August, a bit off, and we have Denmark. We have a nice downwind race in Denmark. This is actually the south of Denmark, and don't ask me to tell you the name of the town because I can't pronounce it. It's not called Hawaii, so it's in the south. But the guys are super keen, and they were ready to do it last year, of course, but with the circumstances, they had to postpone it. And it's really going to be, we think, a really nice venue. And they set up a nice downwind location, which I'm familiar a little bit with the area, and we've been looking at the possibilities, and I think we will have a nice downwind race. And September is still nice enough, the weather, that should not be that hard, because I mean, Denmark in the winter can be a bit gnarly. From Denmark, we take a few weeks off, and actually we go to one of the most exciting new location, which is in Madeira. Madeira Islands are basically our neighbors here in the Canary Islands. They're part of Portugal, of course, but we're basically in Africa. I mean, we're not basically, we are in Africa, literally. And these are some friends of friends that have been wanting to have an event. It's a local, how do you call it? A local club there that has been doing stand-up for a few years now, and they really they have a multi-year project to actually, we build up a contract over a few years. It's one of those locations that have done it right. And we said, look, we're going to scale it up. And this is the first of those years. And with that, it's going to be a really nice location. Madeira is absolutely beautiful. It's for people that surf. A few of them know them. It is late September, but I think it's going to be really quite neat. So yeah, we're going to have the first event, ocean race, of course, and we need to. I wish I was ready to do some scouting there last year, but couldn't travel finally because of this. But everything I've seen, because I personally have not been in Madeira, it's looking like a great location. So that's
exciting. So that would be one of the ones you fly to, though. Yeah.
Yeah, that one. Actually,
no ferry.
What we're doing on that one is we go to Lisbon. We drive everything to Lisbon, and we're fleeting a container to take all the gear to Madeira, and then we're taking everything with a container over to the island, and then back to Lisbon. So that would be, because it will be the end of the tour. Then we'll work out the logistics, getting people's boards back, and at the same time, on the same weekend, actually, because they had to have it on that weekend, we have an event in Russia. The first event we had in Russia.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, cool. It's called the Sabidogo Sub Challenge. It's in this new territory of Russia, which there's a few. Some people recognize it as Russia, some people don't. We don't go into that.
Yeah.
But they've run for a few years now, and actually, Sonny was there last year on the race day. Invited her, And we have to thank her for that because she talked to them about us, and we met some of the people. Because of that, they've come actually to some of our events. And yeah, they're very excited. They're starting slow with the regional event, and then the plan is to jump into 2022 with a bigger venue. But yeah, when we talked to Sonia about the venue last year, she said it was fantastic. Like there's so many paddlers in Russia that we don't know about.
Oh, that's so neat. I love hearing about this expansion. It's really cool. Yeah. So, wow, that's just quite a list. Like you said, there's the iconic events, events that have been with you the whole time, brand new events. You have made this a really sustainable tour, and I just, hopefully you are able to keep it going and not get burnt out. And it's a gift that you're giving to the SUP world to keep it going. And it's so exciting to think about and talk about that going forward. You have some new interesting, I don't know about challenges, because it looks like your cute family of 3 are very portable, but is everybody going on the whole tour, or are you going to do a little bit of back and forth?
Yeah, we are actually, the plan is we go with a motorhome. I got it like 2 years ago, and that was the idea. And the little one, we did it last year for 2.5 months, even though it was a smaller thing. And the plan is to all go together. Yeah, Susie helps out on besides competing herself. Mm-hmm. And now being a full-time mom, of course. Yeah, the idea is to do everything together, and there's actually many families that follow along, and this is the neat thing about it, that it's I would say it's like a permanent holiday for a lot of these people, like the ones that are able to do it is they tell us like, oh, you guys get to do this for like 3 months.
I know.
I can do it for 3 weeks. And I say, yeah, and a lot of people don't realize how much work we put into it behind the scenes and stuff. But at the same time, it is true. Like, you can't complain about going all over the Europe, or sometimes even beyond that, following these great venues. We used to do it. I used to do it as a racer when I was racing, and I felt just getting to do it was amazing. So now actually making it a profession is even that much more special. So yeah, no complaints there.
So fantastic. Yeah. Well, again, everyone, there's a great website with lots more information about different destinations. It includes both these different types of races, both the Grand Slam and the regionals, EuroTourSup.net. If you had been to it in former years, remember it's .net now, not .com. And Belar, wow, appreciate the hard work, like you said, that getting to this point of having the list is massive. And I know you probably spent the whole fall like doing a whole bunch of calling and Skyping and Zooming or whatever with people. A lot of that. Yeah. Emailing, getting it organized. So appreciate what you've done, and thanks for coming on. He was being a little humble and shy. We could have talked the whole time just about Belar because he's a great guy and racer as well as his wife, but so fun to focus on the Euro Tour and the possibilities. So I hope you guys are thinking about it and looking forward to it. And some of you do live in Europe or somewhere even closer. So hopefully some of those races got you excited. Get more information. Belar, I know you're probably the main contact on the website. Are you? Or
no, well, we have a group at EuroTourSup.net, and they can email us on that, or they can email us via social media on both Instagram or Facebook, and we'll get back to them. We're a small company, but yeah, I'm behind the scenes. I wear many hats throughout the company. So yeah, thanks, Kristen, for the opportunity to share this with you.
And absolutely. And we also have a Facebook group called SUP Connect Live and KT Outside Discussions, and I'll post the link there and some photos if it's okay. He has some great photos on his Facebook profile. I stole them from the waves. I don't know if those waves are, I think one's Tahiti and one's maybe local there in the Canary Islands.
Yeah, we have waves in the Canaries, and one I have even in La Jolla. I had one of my best sessions over there.
Wow. Okay. So, yeah, good. Even if the water's a little cold here, huh?
A little bit, just a little bit. Yeah, we have it a bit warmer. But yeah, I mean, again, thanks for the opportunity, and like for those of us that have any questions, feel free to contact us. And looking forward to welcoming more people every year, and keep it up, Kristen. Yourself via SUP Connect doing these live things right now is very important. There's a lot of people with a lot of uncertainty, and I think it's always all these podcasts. A lot of people are like, oh, there's too many of these things, and it's great to talk about things and get to see what's going on. So yeah, keep it up.
Thank you. You too. Thanks, SupConnect. That was fun. And remember, these, besides being live, are recorded, so you can tell your friends to come learn about the EuroTour and hear Belar off of the YouTube channel, as well as IGTV right after this. Thank you. Take care.
Uh,
Hugs to your
Take
girls.
care.
Bye.
I will. Bye bye. Good night.